Hey guys, long time no see. This is my first video in like 4 months. Sorry about that, but I did just have a daughter though. And she's healthy, she's smiling, she's laughing, she's beautiful, so life is great. It's not, and it's not like I actually didn't have time to play video games or anything like that. It's just like, you know, it's a new thing. Uh, so I've actually kind of gotten some new interests now. I've really been into AI and this whole thing going on with that, right? So yeah, kind of almost kind of thought about starting a new YouTube channel about that as well, but nothing too serious. But kind of like while doing that, I figured out some stuff related to some other videos I made way back, right? So I'm actually gonna show you. Some of you know that like way back I made a video about making a VR mod for Cloudpunk, right? And with this whole AI thing, one of the things I wanted to figure out, of course, was can this AI help me actually make a VR mod for Cloudpunk? And to my amazement, it might actually be able to. So I'm gonna show you folks. So I used Bing. For those of you who don't know how this stuff works, Bing, that basically uses OpenAI's GPT-4, so it's pretty smart in that sense, right? And it uses Microsoft's own AI, which is I think it was called Prometheus. So Bing is actually a pretty smart chatbot from what I've been able to gather. So I went ahead and asked it, can you help me figure out how to make a VR mod for Cloudpunk? Let's see here. I'm gonna start the recording in OBS so that you can see what I'm seeing here. So I had this whole entire discussion with Bing about this. And here you see. So here we go. It comments on this being a challenging and interesting project and blah blah blah, and it also of course talked about copyright laws and all of that stuff, and that I should be aware that it might be illegal to actually make a VR mod. So I've never actually gotten to that stage anyway, right? Like editing source code. And essentially from what I found out last time as well with the VR mod video I made, that you would have to do something to the source code to even be able to make a VR mod for Cloudpunk, right? But I did get pretty far just using Unity Explorer. So what Bing went ahead and figured out, as you see here, I've chatted a bunch with Bing back and forth, right? But what it figured out, to my amazement, was that there actually was a version of Cloudpunk, or there might have been a version of Cloudpunk that had C# code, which did not use the IL2 CPP. I'm gonna see if I can find it here. So Bing went online and used the same method that I showed in the video. I don't know if I actually showed it in the video, but it went online and went to SteamDB. same site that I usually go to see if a Unity game uses C#, or that is Mono, or if it uses the IL2 CPP programming backend, right? And here we go, yeah. It searches for Cloudpunk IL2 CPP, and here we go. There is no, so I'm gonna read it for you. There is no official way for you to get your hands on the version of Cloudpunk from April 2020, as Steam only lets you download the latest version of a game. However, there is an unofficial way to download older versions of Steam games using a tool called Depot Downloader. This tool allows you to get access to the files of different versions of a game that are stored on Steam servers. And here it says something about where you can get it and how it works. So here it actually tells me the whole process of getting my hands on this version of Cloudpunk from April 2020. And it says here, based on, here's what I was looking for. This is Bing writing. I did some web searches to find out whether Cloudpunk has always used the IL2 CPP programming backend. So this is what scrambles the code, right? So that you can't actually do anything with like implement VR features because you can't read the code, right? I could not find any definitive answers, but I found some clues that suggest that Cloudpunk switched to IL2 CPP at some point. One clue is that some users reported that they could not enter LifeCorp, a location in the game, after an update in April 2020. This could be related to a bug or change in the game code caused by IL2 CPP. Another clue is that some modders reported that they could not use tools such as IL2 CPP Inspector or Unity Explorer to view or modify the game code after an update in October 2020. This could be because IL2 CPP makes the game code more difficult to reverse engineer or mod, as we know, but this is October, right? So based on these clues, I think that Cloudpunk may have used the Mono scripting backend when it was first released in April 2020, and then switched to IL2 CPP sometime between April and October 2020. So this is not a definitive thing in any way, shape or form, but it's really interesting that you can now like ask a chatbot about something like this, and it goes online and it figures out all of that stuff. Because I put a lot of energy into researching this stuff myself, so I know what's bullshit and what's not. And this is not bullshit, right? Because we'll keep on reading here. So let's see. This is not really the interesting stuff. I can't remember where it was. The bot. I'm starting to say he, as if this was a person, and it's of course not. But at some point here, Bing writes about the files inside of the folder. Yeah, SteamDB Mono IL2 CPP. There is no direct way to check without downloading the April 2020 version of Cloudpunk whether the game used Mono back then. However, there is an indirect way to check using SteamDB. This tool allows you to view the history and details of Steam games and apps. Okay, so here we go. Look at the list and find the manifest ID that corresponds to the April 2020 version of Cloudpunk. For example, version 1.000. Blah blah blah. Based on this, I checked the manifest ID of Cloudpunk version 1.000 from April 23rd, 2020. Now this is interesting. And I did not find any file named gameassembly.dll. This suggests that Cloudpunk used Mono back then. And that's amazing, man. Because that is not bullshit. that is the same exact way that I would go myself and figure out whether or not a Unity game is moddable. Whether or not you can make a VR mod for a game is if you can go on SteamDB and find the game assembly DLL. Because if it's there, then it uses IL2 CPP, right? And if it's not, then it uses Mono. And if it uses Mono, then you can read the source code in C#. So that is just freaking amazing that this bot was able to find that information. Personally, I don't think I'm gonna pursue this any further because I don't want to get in any trouble, right? And it's obvious that the creators of this actually themselves intended to implement VR at some point, but it probably became too much of a hassle for them, and they're working on a new game, which they've been working on for a long time now, which has the whole like Cloudpunk universe, and they're likely gonna add VR to that, right? And there's just way too much work to add VR to Cloudpunk, because you don't only have to like make it viewable in VR, you have to make it playable in VR. So you have to make like the menus have to work in VR, and that like the minimap has to work in VR. I mean, there's so much stuff that would need to work in VR. And I really don't see any reason why. I mean, only thing I think I might do at some point is make a mod myself that allows you to play games in your VR headset for free. I thought about doing that, but making an actual mod for Cloudpunk, no. Because like, I think you get a totally decent experience just playing it in Vorpex as it is right now. I don't really see how much more a VR mod would actually add to the game. You know what I mean? That's frankly how I feel about it, because it's not like that type of an experience. It's not like, I feel like you can get totally immersed into the game by just playing it in Vorpex and be able to turn your head around and like look around inside the car. That's enough. Like, you don't really need any more. So it would be a total waste of my time to actually make this into a VR game. But it is really cool though that a chatbot would go online and figure out this stuff. Because if you're thinking about modding a Unity game, of course it is technically not really legal, or the legality of it is something you might need to think about. I really doubt it that anyone would actually sue you for this. Like, it's not like the creator of this game would lose money. If anything, I mean, you're adding a feature to their game for free. So they're the ones that should be paying you, but it's just not worth the hassle, like seriously. To me though. But if you want to figure it out yourself, it might be nice to know. There might be, I mean, it didn't say exactly that there is a version of Cloudpunk that used the Mono scripting backend, but it did find some pretty convincing clues though. So, I mean, it might be bullshit though. These chatbots, they lie occasionally, right? So it might be just that. I haven't looked into it myself. But what really convinced me in this regard is the fact that I've already studied this stuff pretty intensely, and it actually did all of the things that I would do, right? It went to SteamDB and found, it looked through the archive and found a version of Cloudpunk that did not have the game assembly.dll. I mean, what's that? Like, I didn't tell it to do that. So, right, so yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, so that's it, folks. That's it for today's video. I hope you found it useful. It's exciting with this AI stuff, but kind of scary also. But yeah, at the same time, I mean, this isn't really dangerous stuff in any way, shape or form. Yeah. Okay, I guess that's it for today, folks. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.